Sawadee Cap. Welcome back to Tales of Thailand, where real stories meet raw emotion. Today's story comes from Mickey, a subscriber from Australia, who shares his deeply personal journey through love, heartbreak, and cultural discovery in the land of smiles. From a chance encounter in Pattaya to a whirlwind romance with a nurse named Yi, Mickey's tale explores the highs of passion and the lows of emotional confusion. What begins as a hopeful connection soon spirals into a rollercoaster of broken promises, secret identities, and painful revelations. This is not just a story about Thailand, it's a story about trust, vulnerability, and the search for something rare. Let me start from the beginning. Back in 2003, Thailand was just a name to me, vague, exotic, and utterly unfamiliar. If someone had mentioned it, I might have confused it with Taiwan. Geography wasn't my strong suit, clearly. I was an Aussie, pushing 60, still in decent shape and living a comfortable life. At the time, I had a girlfriend, 12 years younger, attractive, and managing a hotel on the Gold Coast. What I didn't know then was that she was also managing a few of the younger, good-looking residents. One day, she mentioned a guest, an artist who ran a hotel in a place called Pattaya, Thailand. She said it catered to Aussie blokes who'd had a rough time with women back home. I was intrigued. Eventually, I met this fellow. We hit it off immediately, shared values, similar humor, and a mutual understanding of life's absurdities. He invited me to his resort to oversee some construction work, all expenses paid. I didn't hesitate. That trip was my first taste of Thailand, and it was overwhelming in the best way: sensory overload, cultural shock, and a kind of emotional awakening. I returned to Australia, but within 4 weeks, I was back in Thailand. I couldn't stay away. I've never had trouble attracting women in Australia. Keeping them, that was another story. They'd call me the nicest guy they'd ever met, then run back to their ex fresh out of jail. I had a saying to keep myself grounded: I am enthralled by women, but it is commonly known they are fonts of duplicity, avarice, lust, and vainglory. My mind knows these things, but my heart tells me different. Thailand proved that saying true, at least for the first 10 months. My mate used to tease me, "You're ruthless. Most guys fall in love in a day and marry in a week. You've got 4 or 5 chasing you and you don't seem to care." He wasn't wrong. Eventually, I met someone in Buriram. I'd lost weight, was working hard, and decided to take a break. She was 30 years younger, beautiful, charming, and spoke decent English. We spent 4 years together, including 3 trips to Australia. She was a fantastic cook, loved my family, and made life feel easier. But something always felt off. I suspected she was with me for the wrong reasons. Still, compared to my experiences in Australia, life with her was better. After her last 6-month stay ended in May 2007, I felt the void. Out of boredom and loneliness, I turned to online dating, specifically, Date in Asia. Most responses were shallow, but then I stumbled upon Yi. She was 34, not conventionally pretty, but her message was thoughtful and in excellent English. She was a nurse, married once at 25, and had 2 daughters. Her profile said she was looking for sincerity and honesty, don't they all? We clicked. We chatted daily, and she'd call me at work, leave emails, and get anxious if I didn't respond for a few days. I was working on a military base, so sometimes I'd be away, but I tried to call her every day. She made me feel warm, appreciated, and I returned the sentiment. Eventually, she asked if I had a Thai girlfriend. I admitted I did, someone in Buriram. She broke down crying on webcam. The next day, she said she'd always be my friend, even if I had someone else. That moment changed things. I ended things with my Buriram girlfriend, not because of Yi, but because it wasn't working. Yi was moral, reserved, and emotionally complex. She disliked sex unless love was involved. She worked grueling hours, raised her daughters with care, and had a strong sense of self-worth. She refused to be a mia noi, a minor wife, and wanted to be someone's one and only. Her family was impressive: a pilot, a naval officer, 2 lawyers. Yet she insisted they all worked hard to get where they were. She'd been to England for hospital training, not romance. She specialized in kidney dialysis and was clearly dedicated to her profession. Over time, our feelings deepened. But Yi was insecure. If I stayed online after she logged off, she'd accuse me of chatting with others. Sometimes she'd say it was over, only to call the next morning in tears. I chalked it up to trauma from her abusive ex-husband. Despite the emotional rollercoaster, I couldn't deny how compatible we were. I even checked our star signs: she's a Libra, I'm a Gemini. Apparently, it's a perfect match. I wanted to believe she was the one. She worked hard, cared for her daughters, and always made time for me. In January 2008, I asked if she'd like to visit Australia. She was thrilled but could only stay a week due to work. We filled out the application together, but her visa was rejected. Turns out her sponsor wouldn't provide a passport copy, and there was a 20-year discrepancy between her Thai and Aussie passports. Her boyfriend had always suspected something. She told him she was 38, she was actually 58. She also didn't have enough money in the bank. She was devastated. I promised I'd try to visit her in March. Before Yi ever set foot in Australia, she made me promise a few things: no shared room, no sex, and the only physical contact allowed was holding hands when crossing the road. I respected that. It was part of her moral compass, and I admired her for it, even if it left me wondering what she truly felt. One thing I noticed early on, during our MSN chats, was that she never wore gold. I asked her why, and she simply said she preferred silver, it suited her better. That detail stuck with me. It was symbolic, in a way. She wasn't flashy or vain. She was understated, and that made her stand out. Still, I had my doubts. I'd ask her questions, trying to poke holes in her story, and she'd respond with a soft, "When are you going to trust me, Mickey?" I'd reply, "Trust has to be earned. I've been to Thailand 15 times. I don't trust Thai women." And she'd say, "But Mickey, I only tell you the truth." I wanted to believe her. I really did. As time passed, I felt myself growing closer to her. My youngest son was heading to Thailand in August 2007, and Yi asked if she could meet him at the airport to give him a gift for me. She did. That gesture meant a lot. She was trying, really trying, to show she cared. But she was also unpredictable. She'd ask to talk on MSN, I'd wait up until midnight, and she wouldn't show. The next day, she'd casually say she went out with a friend. It was frustrating, but I chalked it up to her indecisiveness. Love, after all, is about accepting imperfections. I told her I'd be coming to Thailand in March, and she was overjoyed. I was too. I arrived with my eldest son. Both he and my youngest are hooked on Thailand and have Thai girlfriends. Yi met us at the airport, and I was struck again by how petite, bubbly, and radiant she was. There was something Chinese in her features: fair skin, delicate frame. She was adorable. She'd arranged a hotel for us on Silham Road and took us out to dinner. She was witty, affectionate, and full of little gestures that made me feel special. After dinner, she drove us back to the hotel and promised to meet us in the morning. At 8 a.m. sharp, she was there, bright-eyed and full of energy. We headed to Pattaya, grabbed McDonald's on the way, and she paid for everything. I had to sneak the money into her ashtray because she refused to take it. Her phone rang several times during the drive, but she didn't answer. I joked to my son, probably her boyfriend. She didn't laugh. We checked into my friend's resort and headed to Ban Sarai for lunch. Yi asked why I hadn't booked 2 rooms. I told her not to worry, nothing would happen. And nothing did. She wore 2 sets of clothes to bed. That was Yi, guarded, principled, and hard to read. The next day, we visited the wooden temple. I admired her curiosity and energy. But again, the phone calls came. She said it was her ex-boyfriend, calling about a wedding invitation. Later, I found out the invitation was 2 years old. He knew nothing about it. She'd lied to him, and to me. That stung. She drove back to Bangkok that afternoon, and my son stayed in Pattaya with his girlfriend. I caught a bus to Ekimai the next morning and met Yi and her friend for dinner. They insisted on paying. That was new to me. Farangs usually foot the bill. The next day, she took me to Ayutthaya. I cherished every moment. She was sensitive, affectionate, and attentive. The following day, she brought her daughters to the hotel, and we spent the day swimming and eating pizza. Then my son joined us, and the 4 of us drove to Kanchanaburi for 2 unforgettable days. That first night, we made love. It had taken time, but when it happened, it was pure, passionate, and real. Back in Bangkok, we had our final dinner at Fuji. Yi sobbed. She didn't want me to leave. I felt the same. She never stayed the night, always went home to her daughters. But at 4 a.m., she returned to the hotel with a small gift and tears in her eyes. She called me from work later, crying, saying she loved me and had the best time. Leaving Thailand is always the hardest part. But this time, it felt different. Yi wasn't like other women I'd met. She worked hard, never slept in, climbed stairs instead of taking lifts, dressed well without flaunting wealth, and refused to let me spoil her. She even paid for a shirt I liked at Siam Paragon. When I tried to give her the money back, she said, "What? Can't I buy something for you?" That moment hit me. She was generous, kind, and genuinely thoughtful. Months earlier, she'd been reluctant to share her address. I just wanted to send a Valentine's card. She eventually told me she lived in her ex-husband's house, with his mother still there. She'd been trying to find a new place, but it was complicated. When I returned to Australia, I deleted my profile from Dear. Yi didn't. I left it up to her. But I noticed she was online at odd hours, 2 a.m., 5 a.m., and when I asked who she was chatting with, she'd log off without answering. On May 1st, I flew back to Thailand. Yi met me at the airport, just as bubbly and affectionate as ever. She went home early to see her mother. The next 2 weeks were filled with closeness and passion. We went to Koh Samet, had lunch with her girls, but still, no mention of meeting her parents. On our last night, she cried again. Came back at 11:30 p.m. and stayed the night. She promised next time I'd meet her family. But the next 2 months were rocky. Her moods swung wildly. One night, she got angry and said it was over. She deleted me from everything. 3 days later, we were back to normal. We talked often about building a life together, a home, a family, warmth. Then she told me her brother, the pilot, was buying a house for their parents, and she had to move in to care for them. She cried, saying it wasn't fair. She wanted a life with me, but I soon realized the truth. Her family didn't even know I existed. There was no choice to make. At the end of July, she told me she was moving in with them, and asked me not to be angry. It was mid-June when the cracks began to show. I spoke to one of Yi's friends, a nurse living in Sydney. I introduced myself, expecting recognition. Instead, she said, "Oh, you're Ye's friend. Not boyfriend." That hit me harder than I expected. It was the first sign that perhaps I wasn't who I thought I was in her life. That same week, I stumbled across Thai love links. Out of curiosity, or maybe instinct, I searched the site. Within minutes, I found a profile that mirrored Ye's Dear account. Same photos, slightly different name, and oddly, the English wasn't as polished. I froze. My stomach dropped. I called her immediately. She was at work and played dumb, claiming she had no idea what I was talking about. I told her it was a sex site, and asked how she could justify being on it, especially as a mother of 2 young girls. She snapped. Told me never to contact her again. But by 9 p.m. that night, she called back. Wanted to know what I'd seen and where. I'd already emailed her the details. She replied, saying she couldn't find the profile. Then she blamed her friend for using her photo. She was furious with her friend, and with me, for not trusting her. Again, she told me never to contact her. And yet, despite everything, I believed her. She seemed so moral, so sincere. But my old mantra echoed in my mind: never trust women. Especially Thai women. The next day, the profile vanished. 4 days later, we were back to normal. She spoke of wanting a family, though she hadn't made up her mind about her own. Some days she was radiant, full of warmth and affection. Other days, distant and cold. It was emotional whiplash. I flew to Bangkok to spend a month with her, hoping to find clarity. The first 2 days were bliss, affectionate, passionate, close. But then came the broken promises. She said she'd stay the night, she didn't. Said we'd go to the movies, never happened. Even on her days off, she'd promise a museum visit, then disappear. No calls, no answers. One day she said, "Let's go to the movies, meet my parents, and I'll stay the night." At 9 p.m., she called to say she wasn't coming. Maybe tomorrow. That was the rhythm of the month. A few good days, warm and intimate. We made love 5 times, some initiated by her. But mostly, it was disappointment. Still, the month wasn't a total loss. I landed a job interview and got the position, teaching aviation, thanks to Ye's help. Her brother worked in the aircraft industry, and she'd found the opportunity for me. That meant something. The last 2 nights of August, she stayed over. Took me to the airport. Told me she loved me. Then came September. Everything changed. She was always busy. "Can I talk to you later?" became her refrain. Sometimes she wouldn't answer at all. I asked my eldest son, who was in Thailand, to call her. No luck. I spoke to Mae, the head nurse. She said Ye had gone to another province for a nursing committee and couldn't be reached. I asked friends to call. Nothing. After a week, Ye finally called. Said she'd been up past Korat, no reception, and now wasn't feeling well. Didn't want to talk. We planned to go to Mae Hong Son for her birthday in October. She was going with work friends, and if I joined, Thai custom dictated no public affection. As the date approached, I sensed she didn't want me there. I told her I'd skip it and see her in November when I moved to Thailand. Then she changed her mind, wanted me to come. I arrived on October 20th. She was affectionate, cuddly, but no intimacy. Claimed she had her men's, though the timing didn't add up. On the 22nd, we went to Mae Hong Son. I enjoyed the trip, but she ignored me completely. One of her friends in Pai asked if we were a couple. I said, "What, hasn't she told you?" Turns out, she told everyone we were just friends. Her family too. Even a Thai male friend who tried to call her while she was past Korat was told the same. On the second to last night, she came to my hotel and said she didn't want to be my girlfriend, only a friend. I told her, good idea. You treat your friends better than me. But I broke down. She was ice cold. I asked her to leave. The next day, she called me 20 times. Wanted to know if I was okay. Said she'd take me to the airport at 4 a.m. She arrived early. And within minutes, we were intimate, not love, just sex. She wasn't my girlfriend anymore, so it wasn't love. But it was real, and I know she was satisfied. You know what I mean. At the airport, she called me several times. Wanted me to talk to her daughters. I decided to test her. Told her I'd be going to Australia in March to see my mum, and asked if she'd come. Yes, Mickey, I would love so much to be with you, she said. When I landed in Sydney, I sent her an SMS. She called me immediately. Said she missed me. Sounded sincere. And yet, sincerity had become a moving target. The next few weeks were a blur of logistics, settling into my new house, organizing the container, ticking off the practicalities of starting a new life in Thailand. Yi and I spoke on the phone, but the spark was gone. The calls were polite, functional, devoid of warmth. She'd helped me search for a condo, which I appreciated, but there was no feeling behind it. Just assistance. No affection. I arrived mid-November with my son. She didn't meet us at the airport. When I called, she made it clear, we were only friends. This woman who had once been so intense, so emotionally charged, was now cool, composed, and distant. I didn't see her for 2 days. On the third, she stopped by the condo to drop off some bags I'd left with her earlier in the year. She was sweet, even suggested we go to the movies the next night. We did. It was a lovely evening, dinner, conversation, laughter. She was her usual affectionate self, and for a moment, I let myself believe things might be okay. Over dinner, she offered to open a Thai bank account in her name for me, to help me avoid fees. We'd never discussed money before, but she'd always been cost-conscious. I had the impression, thanks to gossip, that she believed I was wealthy. I'd offered to pay for taxis or small things, but she always refused. That night, I declined the bank account offer. She nodded and said, okay, never mention it again. When she dropped me off, she called to thank me for the evening. It felt genuine. The next morning, she called again, but a Thai woman answered my phone. No romantic connection, just a friend. Still, Yi was furious. She told me it was over. She would never call me again. I sent her an SMS, you've always played games with my heart. First you want to be my girlfriend, then you make me your secret boyfriend, then only a friend, now not even that. You make promises and break them all. It's a big game to you. She called 6 times in a row. Then sent an SMS saying she needed to see me. I was at the hairdresser's when she arrived, visibly upset. She insisted she'd never played games, that she'd always told me the truth. I laid out the examples. She cried. I told her I couldn't do this anymore. I wanted something simple. We agreed to part ways. She said she'd never forget me. I started my new job in the aircraft industry shortly after. She'd call occasionally, mostly about my container arriving. Then, one evening, just before finishing work, she called and said she missed me, asked if she could come over. I had guests, so I invited her the following week. She came. I cooked dinner. It was sweet, warm, familiar. The next morning, I logged into Hotmail to send her a message, and saw something that stopped me cold. She downloaded dozens of photos from the 2 weeks she was supposedly up past Korat at a hospital conference. The photos were all dated. Some were from Kanchanaburi. I called her. Asked how someone supposedly working at a hospital, unreachable by phone, had time to take all these pictures. She brushed it off. Said we were only friends now, and she could do what she wanted. I hung up. I refused to speak to her again. A few days later, I found the wedding invitation she'd used as an excuse back in March. I had my son's girlfriend translate it. It was nearly 3 years old. She'd lied to me, lied to her Thai boyfriend. A blatant, calculated lie. As streetwise as I like to think I am, if this had been an Australian woman, I'd have bounced back in 2 nights. But Thai women, especially the ones who wear sweetness and morality like a second skin, are masters of ambiguity. Bar girls lie. We expect that. But when the good girls do it, it feels like betrayal on a deeper level. The deception isn't just hurtful, it's insidious. There's no greater feeling than making love to someone you truly love. And no greater pain when it ends, and you're left trying to make sense of it. Thanks for sticking with me through this long story. If someone out there learned something from it, then maybe it wasn't all for nothing, and that wraps up Mickey's story. A journey that took him from the beaches of Pattaya to the emotional depths of love and loss. He gave his heart, his time, and his trust, only to find himself questioning everything. Was he ever truly sincere? Or was Mickey just another chapter in her complicated life? His experience reminds us that not all heartbreaks come from betrayal. Some come from the silence between the words. What do you think? Was Yi misunderstood, or was Mickey right to walk away? Drop your thoughts in the comments, we'd love to hear your take. If you enjoyed this story, give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe for more Tales of Thailand, where every story is a lesson in love, life, and the unexpected.